Hello folks, welcome back to Reality Check with Arvind Swaminathan. We're in a bit of a dilemma. We don't seem capable of facing up to the truth. And I think it's about time we did. Has it never occurred to anybody that somebody like Rahul Gandhi knows he's of no damn use? He will not get anywhere in India on his own. He can't. Hence, foreign intervention is necessary. This is why in the previous video I talked about Mir Jafars and Jaichans, the traitors who handed over Indian kingdoms and India in toto to first the Mughals or Muslims and then to the British. I mean, Mir Jafar was a man who, with an army of 18,000, laid down arms and surrendered to 300 British officers and men. Why? The promise was that his king or his boss, Siraj-ud-Dawla, would be replaced by Mir Jafar. So he betrayed him. And this is exactly what Rahul Gandhi is doing, aided and abetted by Sonia Gandhi and a whole lot of others. Now let's have a look. For instance, Sonia Gandhi has been associated with George Soros probably since 1994, when she was co-president of his think tank. Who was the senior advisor to that think tank? Aung San Suu Kyi. Remember, the one who won an election in Burma is now serving time? Well, Sonia Gandhi won 2 general elections. Remember? One of them brought in Amartya Sen. That was the Rothschild connection. Now, let's get a little deeper into this. I had said in my earlier, this thing about 4 or 5 months ago, about the Adani saga and George Soros' Takeover India project, or India Takeover project. I said then the attacks had begun, not just on Modi, but on India. Here's the second salvo. Another report, again on Adani Group, Adani Group, the OCCRP, which is, funnily enough, funded by old friend George Soros, Ford Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation. Now, can you get any closer than that? This is the American setup, or the American intervention. And the amounts involved are huge. What are they trying to do with Adani? Why are they doing it? Well, basically, the first attack, the Hindenburg report, was to try and break not just Adani, but 2 of his major investors, the State Bank of India and the Life Insurance Corporation of India. Once broken, who would have bought them up? Would you believe the Rothschilds? Good friends of theirs? Sonia Gandhi and co. Well, what more do you want? Now, this second attempt, the first attempt failed because the LIC and the State Bank of India were not that deeply entrenched, nor that heavily invested in the Adani Group. And in any case, there was nothing wrong. Within days or a couple of weeks of that, what happened? An American-based company, GQG, bought 13,500 crores worth of stock in the Adani Group, and in 5 days would have made 5,000 crore profit. Nothing wrong there. Classic case of short selling. Remember 1815, Napoleon, and that war, that Battle of Waterloo? How much Nathan Rothschild made? Again, short selling. If that was not short selling, It was just playing with people's feelings, pretending to sell, when all he was doing was bringing the market down to rebuy or repurchase. Same thing here. Hindenburg report, Adani shares drop, somebody makes a huge killing. The RBI and SEBI have found about 12 entities who made a lot of money and who are ready and waiting for that to happen. Now, who is behind George Soros and why? About 10 days ago came more news. The same GQG were about to enter and take up 27% stake in Adani Power. That means an investment of $1.1 billion, billion with a B, B for Bambi. Now, would they be investing on something like this if they knew there was something rotten there or something really wrong? Can you believe that? I don't know. Again, it's to bring down stock prices. Now, it's not just the foreign folk. Who are the Indian folk? Is it a lot of the Gandhi family ill-gotten gains being brought back to buy into Adani's? And why Adani's? Adani was the biggest Indian corporation or group or conglomerate. It was huge, even bigger than Tata's. That was its stock value. And what are they doing? Buying into it. You see, don't forget, the Rothschilds are seldom in the foreground. They're usually in the background pulling all the strings. They're slowly buying into India. For instance, the KG Basin oil and gas concessions, previously under Ambani's, were bought up by BP Oil. BP Oil is owned by Rothschilds. Rothschilds also had a 75 square kilometer mining concession in the Panna region of Madhya Pradesh. Why 75 square kilometers? Nobody else has ever given more than 25 square kilometers. Was this the Congress or UPA largesse? Now you can see where all this is leading. Why a second attack again on Adani's? Remember, Adani is invested into core projects, core areas. Adani Power, GQG, ports, airports, mining. Now, if you look carefully, you'll find the Rothschilds are well into all these. This is how the Rothschilds took over the USA. And see what a mess they made of the US. Now they're trying to take total control of India. You see, had they been able to take over the State Bank of India, that goes to every part of India, villages, districts, you name it. And banking is their core industry. Why? Take note. Who are the main banking concerns or banks, foreign banks that is, in India? Most, if not all, are owned by the Rothschilds. Be it Stanchart Bank, DBS Bank, Deutsche Bank, HSBC, Citigroup. Need I say more on that? No. Once, you remember one thing, years ago, one of the first of the Rothschilds, Mayor Amschel Rothschild, said, "Give me the power over a nation's money, and I care not who makes its laws." He's proved that in the US, he's proved that in Europe, he's trying to prove it to India. And who's helping him? The Jaichunds and the Mir Jafars in India. That is the inside aid he's getting. And another bank, again owned by the Rothschild, JP Morgan Bank. There you go again. Now, once you've got that banking sorted out, that's where all the money is. And if all trade is in dollars, he just keeps writing checks. Those dollar checks have to go back through his banks. You see, that is why he controls all the multinationals all over the world, because their transactions have to go through the Bank of International Settlements. Where is that based? Switzerland. Who owns the controlling interest? The Rothschilds. Just like the US Federal Reserve. It is owned by a group of private bankers, controlling in interest, the Rothschilds. Now you also know why the whole world has to say that they're with Ukraine all the time and that Putin is a very bad boy. Why? Two reasons. One, Putin threw all the Rothschild banks out of Russia. As if that wasn't bad enough. Now he's screaming, why should we trade all oil in dollars, US dollars? Why not in rubles, euros, sterling, Indian rupees, Chinese yuan, Saudi dirhams? Why only in US dollars? And one can see his point. Why should the world pay the US commission in buying and selling dollars just to buy and trade oil? Why? Because of a Rothschild diktat? Now you begin to understand. But why again? Who are the insiders who are benefiting from this attack on Adani and making their share prices drop drastically? Is it possible that it's the Gandhi family? Maybe they are, through all these different companies? Or is it that they would like the Rothschilds to take control of India and they act as the Rothschild agents governing India? Is this their aim? Now you understand why I said Mir Chand and Mir Jafar and Jai Chand. You see what I mean? It is a huge conspiracy, both outside, aided and abetted by insiders. And if this isn't bad enough, you think of the recent expose, I think the New York Times, which exposed the Chinese funded news channels or news agencies. Was it Newsflix, is it? Money from the Chinese government, the Chinese Communist Party, through Mr. Neville Roy Singham, an American citizen based in China. He is funneling money, some of it directly, but the major chunk is being sent to the US, and from there, through US companies, are coming into India. Some of them are shell companies. They send the money to somebody in India and then disappear. So now, is it just China that's against India and America the big friend? Or are they working together, hand in glove? China against India, USA trying to be over-friendly, with a knife in our backs. I'll leave that to you to understand and decide. Because to me it sounds very, very suspicious. There is a problem somewhere, and I hope it comes out soon. And Mr. Modi, please be on guard. Because from now on, these attacks will get more and more intense. And you see the number of organizations receiving money from people like George Soros, the Ford Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation. And the help the drug trade, the narcotics trade is getting from people like Soros. The US Somebody sent me a clip, for instance. You look at San Francisco and the streets there. People are alive but in a coma. Why? There's a new drug somewhere. It's a chemical. One shot of it and they're addicts. That's it. Now, coming back to China, this is the American or Western influence. What I don't understand is, why is Rahul Gandhi allowed to travel anywhere and increase these contacts? And why do the others outside give him any time at all? Is he a member of the government? No. Is he have that much power in India? No. Then why are they trying to build him up? I know they would love him to be in the Prime Minister's chair, because then they can loot India as they did in days of old. Back to the robber barons. But let's see the Chinese. Now the Chinese president, obviously Jinping is not going to come to India for the G20, not after they just issued a map claiming that Aksai Chin and Arunachal Pradesh are Chinese territory, which is about as ludicrous as you can get. I'll explain why. Why do they claim Arunachal Pradesh? Because apparently there is an old British map which shows Arunachal Pradesh as part of southern Tibet. Okay? Fair enough, the British drew that up. But the Chinese also say that they refuse to accept the McMahon line as the frontier or the border because it was drawn up by the British, even though they accepted it at a meeting in Simla. They initialed that one too. And then they say, no, we don't accept it because it is the British. Well, if you don't accept that, then we don't accept the British map saying Aksai Chin and Arunachal is being part of southern Tibet or western Tibet or anything. I will go further to say, Mr. Modi, you should tell China or bring out a new map saying that the whole of Tibet is a part of India. Why? Well, the British took it away from us, gave northern half of Tibet to China, and kept the rest of Tibet as an independent country. So we don't accept the British interpretation of all those areas. We claim the whole of Tibet is part of ours, and it was ours. I think the early 1800s, Tibet was a part of, or under the rulership of the Maharaja of Kashmir. At least until 1825. So why did it suddenly become part of China? And if you really look at China, more than 50 or 60% is actually annexed territory, like Manchuria, Inner Mongolia, and Tibet. And they're slicing more and more territory from places like Myanmar, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Philippines, even Japanese are finding a problem with them. And of course India. They've also taken territory from people like Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan and so on. You see, and they keep saying that we're not expansionists. They are. Before long they'll say that the whole of India belongs to them. It's about as ridiculous as you can get. Now the Chinese don't believe in equality. I've said this before. Either they're sitting on top of you or you're sitting on top of them. They don't like it when you get up to them, eyeball to eyeball, and say, no, you're not getting away with that. They're trying to ask us, prove that you are equal to us or more powerful than we are. Well, in the Galwan Valley skirmishes, they found out. They've been rather quiet since then. That this lot, this particular government, is not going to take things lying down. This is not the Nehru era. This is the BJP era and the Modi era. Small example, the airstrip, Daulat Beg Oldi. It's been lying unoperational, or almost decommissioned, for 43 years. Why? Because the Congress governments were always afraid, the Chinese will get upset. Why? What we do on our own territory is our affair. What's it got to do with them? Yes, they're sitting on our territory, which the Congress party under Nehru gave them. Excuse me, not a blade of grass grows there. You give it water, it will grow, or something will grow there. But fact remains, it's our territory. Anyway, this is what I'm talking about, you see. Now, all this money is coming from China through the US, money from the US and now Western Europe. What for? I told you earlier, Project Take Over India. Do remember that nearly all, if not all, the foreign banks in this country are either owned or controlled by the Rothschild family. Now the Gandhi family seems to want Rahul Gandhi as Prime Minister, whatever the cost, even at the cost of making us a colony all over again. Not a colony of the US so much as a colony of the Rothschilds. More important, and really now is the time, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, what is in that MOU you signed with the Chinese Communist Party in 2008? That has to be put in the public domain. If not, you are guilty of high treason. I think you know what that means. There's no getting away. There is no appeal from that. That is direct evidence. Like it or not. Makes no difference. But that has to come out in the open now. India needs to know. The government of India needs to know. And every citizen in India needs to know what is in that agreement. What have you promised to give away to China? What have you promised to give away to Bangladesh and to Pakistan? And now to anybody else as well. Tell us. We need to know. There's an election coming up that will tell you what we think of you. And if we don't know, you don't deserve to be even permitted to contest those elections. Please remember, folks, this is our future. What are we leaving behind for children and grandchildren and future generations? We can go to the moon, but we can't look after our own Jaychans and Mir Jafars because we don't have the guts. Well, Mr. Modi, you better, and Mr. Amit Shah, you better get some guts from somewhere. Because this particular pair needs to be sorted out very quickly before they spread any more lies like the coffin gate which kept you out of power for 10 years. There will be more lies coming, don't worry. That is their stock in trade. Anyway, folks, do remember what I said. The Chinese problem and the Americans, they seem to be working hand in glove. And we have to be ultra careful now. All foreign funds have to be stopped, or they must come through the government of India, not directly. Otherwise there's no control. And I was shocked when I found the extent to which there are NGOs in this country getting money from them. And there's no way of stopping it because they're going directly to them. Anyway, folks, thanks. Think about what I've said today. And please try and understand our future is at stake. Please subscribe, pass on to your friends, your groups. And remember, this is not a joke what I've said here today. It's stark reality. Ciao.